life and let it go is a quote by Marty Rubin that best explains my recent months. Over the past summer, I've created new friendships, started new relationships, and created new memories. But as the summer swept along, I couldn't help but remind myself of how long and challenging the journey was to finally reach this level of happiness within me again. So to set the time back, we're going to be starting at the beginning of spring 2024. Transitioning from a very depressing and lonesome winter, I was mentally just not doing the best. It wasn't just like my mental and emotional state, but also it was starting to affect my social life. I had just recently quit a spring sport that I was starting to gain a really good interest for, and I quit it because I just didn't find motivation within me anymore. I'd constantly tell myself I have bad days, not a bad life. But when you have constant bad days in a row, you just stop believing in it. And I would find myself often blaming God or blaming myself as to why I'm going through all this alone. I had been losing a friendship for over 8 years, and I just felt like no one had time for me anymore. My friend group was starting to drift because, again, we didn't have time for each other. And I feel like my other friends constantly put others in front of me. During the season of sadness, I remember my biggest thing I would look forward to is going to bed at 9 p.m. every single night. I would spend my Friday nights looking forward to go home, taking off my makeup, changing into comfy clothes, and going to bed. During this time, I was also working at Scooters. It was my first sort of like real job, so I didn't really know what to expect, but before I knew it, I've grown to hate it. It was fun working with coffee and everything, but it was just the management, and I just felt like I had no time for myself or for school. With this no time, I lost some close friendships, and I lost my motivation to finish off my sophomore year strong. Again, the management was also just not the best. I would find myself having to go into the job extremely sick just because no one would cover my 4-hour shift. Along with the management and time, they were super inflexible hours. With this, I had no time for friends, family, or stuff I enjoyed doing. Entering springtime, not only were flowers blossoming, but also new opportunities. I'd been invited to a bonfire, which 3 of my best friends were going. Addison, Ella, and Carmen, you guys may know them. And there, I was close with all of them, but not in a group way. There we met some guys who ended up being pretty cool and found out they could work on cars. So anytime I ran into a little car problem this summer, they were right there to fix it. We kept getting invited to these type of functions, and we automatically just started growing closer together and created a small group of us 4. Towards the end of the spring, my sister came home one last time before fully moving out, and she was working at the Kids of the Kingdom as a temporary summer daycare teacher. She knew that they were hiring, and she also knew how much I'd been complaining about working at Scooters, so she decided to get me an application. Obviously, working with children, the whole application process took a little longer than probably other jobs, so it took a while, but finally I was hired and I worked there my whole summer. So entering summer with my new friend group and a summer job that was done at 5:30 and it would never go any longer, I now had I had more free time, which I could spend on my friends, family, or even doing the hobbies which I enjoyed the most. But during this time, I was also super close to my parents. They've gotten really lenient with me, and I had no curfew. I had just gotten my license, so all my gas tanks were free and on them. And I tried not to abuse it, but again, what else is a 16-year-old girl supposed to do with no curfew and paid gas tanks? As the summer was ending and I dwelled on it, I'd remind myself of how proud I was of not just myself, but just also my relationship growing with God and knowing that I got to get through this lonesome season, and I'd remind myself of the memories created and shared with others, and not just the memories, but also the battles, people, and God who helped push me through it. In the spring and summer of 2024 is when I overcame such a sad season of my life. I am Evelyn Z, and this is